Okay, guys, here we are, and we're going to be talking about actually one of our newer features that I'm super excited to tell you about. So since the beginning, we've had the concept of requirement filter templates, but we only implemented a sort of an out-of-the-box set of them that were related to the SAC, so the assessment questionnaire, sort of using those as a guideline for a requirement filtering template. So for example, if you were adding a payment channel to a project and you knew that project was P2PE, for example, you could select a RFT that was based on the SAC P2PE, and it would automatically set up a ROC project with a limited number of requirements related to that. So we still support the out-of-the-box RFTs, which are directly related to the different SAC types, but now we also allow you the ability to custom define your own. Many QSA companies, while a lot of them start with the SAC guidance, they may have other requirements they want to use, or maybe they want to add them in because something is floated to the top during a conversation with their acquirer, or maybe they just have a hunch that they should be looking at something else, or maybe they just have their own way of doing things. All is perfectly fine. So we now support that. And the way to go about setting one of these up is you're going to click on this bottom button down here called Templates RFT. And remember, RFT stands for Requirement Filter Template. So we're going to click on that. And I'm going to click Custom RFT. And in here would be the list of any that you've already defined if you want to edit it, right? And if you want to create a new one, then you're just going to go to the second box where it says New RFT and you're going to name it. So let's do that. I think you can name them any way you want. I think it makes sense to name them, by what it's about. So in this case, I'm going to say it's going to be about a service provider and maybe a service provider that does firewall management only for their customers. All right. So in this case, as you can imagine, there's not, they're going to have to comply with a lot of stuff, but maybe not everything. And I'm not going to go through each and every one of these because it's up to you to figure out what you want this particular RFT to do. But it's pretty safe to assume that if they're in the business of firewall managing for your customers, right, then they're probably going to need to have all of requirement 1 in place, right, or assessed, I should say. And it's up to you to figure out exactly what you want to include or not include in a ROC that uses this RFT as a requirement filtering mechanism, right? Pretty safe to assume it's going to be all of requirement 1 at a minimum and most likely all of requirement 12 at a minimum. And then there may be stuff along the way like logging and things like that you'd want to include as well. Maybe even just anything, access management stuff, because obviously they're going to have access to your customer side if they're managing their firewall. So some of requirement 7, some of requirement 8, possibly even some of requirement 5. If you're worried about them spreading malware into the environment, you never know. You define the template, whatever makes sense for you. As you check these boxes, it's automatically saved. You do not need to do anything else. So in this case, I added all of requirement 1. I'm going to go ahead and add most, if not all, of requirement 12 to this as well. I'm not trying to suggest that a firewall service provider would have just these requirements. I'm just trying to demonstrate the feature. So in a later video, I'm going to show you how to use either the built-in RFTs or the custom ones that you define. So that's actually coming up in our tutorial on how to set up a new ROC project. So with that said, nothing else to do here. By the way, you can check them all and work backwards. If you want to just check all the requirements and then remove the ones you're not going to do, you can also uncheck everything and start from scratch. And also, if you have one you've saved, you can delete the whole thing out right here and now. And as I said, there's no save button to hit. As you check these boxes, it is saved. So this is an active template at this point. It now shows up in the list, as you can see, along with this one I defined earlier called My P2PE. and another physical document destruction service provider, and again, this current one that we're working on. So that's what I wanted to show you on this. And in the next video, we are going to get into how to set up a project and how you would go about using one of these custom RFTs.